Demonstrating our framework will be our Director of Consulting Services, Clemente Beltran, and one of our more senior consultants, Dominique Labrec, whom both specialize on the topic of automation. Our President, Terry England, will be presenting an introduction and our value proposition, how we can help as an organization for your automation and performance testing requirements, challenges, initiatives, and objectives. So without further ado, I introduce you to our President, Terry England.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. I will simply take maybe 5-10 minutes of your time to explain to you who we are for those who don't know us as yet. So the name of the company is Pegazy Technology. We're specializing in strictly two things, which is quality and performance. We've been around for quite some time, since 2001. We have presence on mostly the Northeast, but we also have an office in Calgary. So we work with different vendors. So we're well known to work with HP because of our presence in the financials. But we also work with other tools such as IBM, SAP, also a little bit of freeware such as Selenium and so on. But we'll go into more detail in regards to technology at a later point. We are very well known for our toolkit, the quality of our toolkit and our people. So actually that's the purpose of the presentation today, is to show you what is our most recent toolkit that we have in place, which is the automation framework with ALM and any other automation tools, or a lot of other tools out there. So this is some of our customers, just to give you a gist of where we're present. And so as I was saying, we do QA. We're QA practitioner. I know today we'll be talking about automation, and we'll be focusing about automation, but keep in mind that in order to do automation efficiently, you have to have certain processes in places. And we work with those activities, and you see at the screen on a daily basis. So I don't want to go too much in detail on those, but depending on the type of customer we work with, we seek for different objectives. Sometimes when we work for government, we're looking to capture the business knowledge of some people that's going to retire within the next few years. When we work with banks, it's always about improving quality, coverage, and decreasing risk. But most organizations we work with, they all seek for improving their time to market, and that is something that we're very good at. So that's about it. The framework we'll be talking about today, we call it the HP, but it's really the ALM, because ALM is the test management tool of HP that is quite popular and affordable as well. Can integrate with a lot of different tools, and in a very neat manner. You'll see that the main value proposition we have to offer are around speed. So there's nothing like the way we work with the tool in terms of speed. There's also the ease of use. You can have a lot of different people creating test cases that don't know anything about ALM or automation. So the knowledge on automation is very minimal. Actually, it's almost none. You always need some technical resource to do the scripting, but in the ecosystem, we decrease that dramatically. So, and it eliminates a lot of complexity. We've been working with those tools for the last, like I was saying, the last 14, 15 years. So we won award for different reasons on different components of ALM. So we know what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and we're very proud of what we achieved lately. Not only the way we work with the tool, but also we developed some utilities that help improving the utilization of the tools as well. So the concept of what we will present today is quite simple. Let's say you have a baseline of 3 transactions. We'll keep it simple today. And we have creation of an order, delete an order, update an order. What we were able to do is to build a command collection in which you will reference every different command within one collection. So whenever you have to do modification to let's say login, you want to add a domain name to it, well, you can go in this reference, change it, and it will get pushed throughout the entire baseline. So the value of it is documentation-wise, we all know most documentation around test cases are obsolete or not accurate, or we're always struggling doing that. People don't like to do that. It's a fastidious job. So this helps dramatically to decrease the time that is required to be invested in this. And there's also the value of using an ecosystem that makes sure everybody understands what goes into each box, right? So the dependency towards technical resources dramatically reduce. And there's two things you have to keep in mind when you embark on an automation project. Is number one is the maintenance time. You got to make sure that the maintenance of those scripts will be easy, will be also very efficient. This is the number one cause of failure on automation project. So this clearly is aligned with this. And the other portion is also, you don't want to depend on technical resource too much where they would script an end-to-end transaction. Whenever they will leave, you will lose the knowledge and the investment that you've done in those assets. So the way of working with the tool that you see on the screen is avoid those two pitfalls. So again, there's the concept of what we're about to present is what we call logical test automation. So it pushed one step further the typical physical test automation, and we can get quite a bit of substantial savings by working this way. Without any further ado, I'll pass it along to Clemente, who will give you, Clemente and Dominique, who's going to give you an overview of how this thing works. So.
My stopwatch is ready. My ALM is open in the test lab. My test set is ready to be executed with my 4 first test cases. So my first execution of the demo is using business components. It's 4 different scenarios with 3 iterations each. Once I will start the execution, UFT will be launched. So UFT is not pre-launched, and it's not going to be pre-launched for the second set of tests. Let's begin. So ALM is trying to connect to the host. Here all the tests are run locally, so it won't take much time. We need to get the information, launch UFT, and download all the resources. Business process tests need to download all of their components to your local PC and then load them one by one into your HP Unified Functional Testing tool. Bottom line, the more components your tests have, the longer it takes to execute them. Our demo uses the HP MyFlight sample application, which comes with HP Unified Functional Testing. It's a pretty simple test. We're going to create a flight with from one city to another by specifying the number of tickets and the cabin class. And we're going to validate the total. And once the flight is created, we're going to go back to that flight, modify it, and validate the total again. And then we close the application and we start the next iteration. The first iteration was executed in a bit more than a minute. The next remaining runs will be executed in fast forward for the sake of the video, and all the same steps will be performed. For the next iteration, I restored UFT's window so we can see what's going on inside of it. Each component is executed very quickly because UFT has been optimized for it, but these 4 test cases with 3 iterations each are still being executed in a time frame of more than 8 minutes. This is the end of the last iteration. The fast forward is now off. I'm gonna let it finish completely. Updating the report, and then the test is done, and it's 8 minutes and 18 seconds. I'm saving the time, resetting, and I'm ready for the next execution, which is using Pegasus framework. Here we're going to execute the same test, the same scenario with all the iterations and the same user actions, same validation. Let's begin the second phase. ALM will try to connect to UFT on the host machine, which is the local machine. UFT will be launched, but this time we don't have any downloading to do. We're just connecting and running the tests because the test has everything it needs to execute. So the test is launched right away, and it's all the same steps, same validations. We're creating a flight, we're validating the total, we're doing the same steps, and the next iterations will be run in fast forward again. I'm showing you once again what's going on inside of UFT, so you can see that it's one line of code being executed, and it's enough to execute everything inside of the application under test. And we're already at the end of the execution. The fast forward is off, and we're under 5 minutes. Same test case, same scenarios, same iterations, same validations. One is executed with business components, the other one is executed with Pegasus framework. One runs in over 8 minutes, the other one under 5 minutes. So Pegasus framework is 40% faster on this case because this case is really simple. It doesn't have, it has around 30 components. So if your test case has more than 30 components, it's going to be faster than that. Because the more downloading you have to do, the more loading inside UFT you have to do, the more time it takes. This application is called the test case generator. This is the main view of the application where you can manage your test cases. Right now there is none, so we're going to create a new one by selecting new test case, and we're going to have a new window which is a command editor, and on the left side you will see a command tree with the commands, with a collection of commands of all your applications under test in a tree structured. And once you select a command, you can see on the right side command information, the name of the command, the version, a short description, and once you select the command you can see the parameter list, so the parameters that are required in this command, which displays the name, the description, a short description of the parameter that is to be used, and the data type. So if it's text, it's going to be a string. If it's a date, it's going to show you, and if it's a number, integer, yeah, it's going to show you as well. And it helps you do data validation for your business users, and helps you make sure that they enter the right data inside the right command. Once you're ready to create your first test case, you can select your commands and enter the parameters that you need and add them to the test case details. So you will see in the command list the commands that you added with the parameters that you selected, entered. And once you have, in this case, we're going to build a short, complete end-to-end test. So we're going to launch the app, log in, set the information, enter the order information, and we're going to validate and close the application. Once this is done, we need to create headings for the tests. So we have the opportunity to add a test case description And we also have the opportunity to have headers inside the test case. We can have up to 4 headers. We can have more, but 4 is plenty. These would be your test name, your configuration name, your iteration number, and it can be customized according to your requirements. Once your headers are set, you can save this first test case and use it as a template to create more test cases. We're going to create a second test case by changing the parameters in one of the commands from the first test case. So we're going to choose a different destination for added coverage for the tests and save it as a second test by changing the command, the headers. And this test will be saved, and we will also continue with adding a third test case with the same template. In this third test case, I'm going to change the parameters of the login information, login command, to make it an admin test. Once again, I'm going to change the headings to a second configuration. And I'm going to use this test case and save it and go back to the main area where I can see my 3 test cases displayed in the main view. Each test case is clearly displayed in the main view, and you can see the command that we specified inside the command editor when we were building our test case, and you can also see the collection of commands and data properly displayed, and you can also edit whatever information that you deem necessary inside this view. And once it's ready, you can save it as an Excel file or as a CSV file. CSV can be used with many technologies, several technologies, and also Excel file is specifically with HP Application Lifecycle Management and HP Unified Functional Testing. In the main view, you can also execute several commands like selecting all the test cases, creating a new test case, deleting test cases, copy, select, you can select test cases and copy them. Edit selected cases, which is going to pop the command editor, and you can also edit the parameters right inside the main view. I'm saving my 3 test cases to an Excel file to open it and show you how it is displayed inside Microsoft Excel. So you can see inside the Excel file the same configuration is displayed here. Where you have the comments, and the collection of commands and data properly displayed and ready to be used in ALM or any other test solution manager. Now, the last thing I want to show you is how I can edit several test cases at once. So I'm going to open a file containing several test cases, 27, and I'm going to search for specific commands and data. In this case, I want to replace Paris with London. So I'm going to select the command containing the destinations and select the data containing Paris. Once I hit the search button, I end up with 9 configuration containing Paris, and I can update all of these at once by opening the command editor, changing Paris to London, and commit the change to all 9 test cases at once. I end up with my 9 test cases all changed, and I saved a lot of time on maintenance, and my test cases for Paris are now changed to London, and I'm ready to test.
Thank you. We had the Partner One Software Award for 2015, so from HP. So this is based on ALM, which is an HP product. So it's nice for you to know that you're working with competent people. And this is where I was going. most companies that are reshoring in America is because it's two things. It's because of the currency change, also because of the quality and the rework. The key thing that I want to bring up today is that rework is totally counterproductive when it comes to automation. You know, if you deal with an outsourcer that whenever they're not meeting their objective, their answer is like, add more bodies. If the recipe isn't good in the first place, you can add as many bodies as you want. You won't make it up for the time that is being wasted in maintenance. So just to keep in mind that this is a trend that we see, and that's why our business model is shifting more and more towards outsourcing, because there's a lot of customers that are looking to get a better return out of these projects. So another fact by Gartner is that out of Europe, Asia, and America, Canada is the best place to outsource. The only two downside of Canada is the government support and the cost. But because we're based out of Montreal, we get a lot of tax exemption for this type of business. So, and keep in mind that with the dollar exchange, I know there's some American on the line, for the past 2 years, makes it very competitive to deal with a Canadian outsourcer. So that's why we developed that onshore facility. It's we went through it already, but you know, there's an unmatched expertise in our team. We believe that we have. There's also the ease of use. We have tools that we can provide to the customer. The customer doesn't need to know anything about automation. We can take it from there, right? The fact that we're close by, I mean, anybody can pick up the phone and talk to someone who's working on this project on the same time zone. That's another value that translates into so many different things, and we'll get to that later. But the rework cost when you work on 2 different time zones is a killer, and I'll demonstrate that later on. So can you please mute your line? We'll get to the question later, but I'd like to go through this. So in terms of metrics and visibility, we have a lot of detailed metrics that are based on effort, on coverage, and so on, which you usually don't get offshore. Don't forget that we're also bound in Canada by the NAFTA legal commitment, which come with a certain level of encryption and so on. So that's why it makes it appealing for especially financials that are heavily regulated on this. And anyway, the expertise and the knowledge retention, I don't want to get too much in detail, but our average turnover is 7 years, right, compared to 7 months offshore. So this is also a great value that we have to offer. So what I was talking about was the rework. The fact, whenever you address rework with defect, or it's always the process of dealing through a CMM process offshore is every time you engage, you lose a day, right? So, and according to Forrester, 30% of project costs are related to rework. And according to Meta Group, 70% of rework are attributed to correcting requirements errors. So we can shave half of the time that the process of rework is demanding out of companies. So that being said, if you do, I don't want to bore you with a bunch of numbers, but we can save up to 10-11% of the entire project effort just on rework, just on bringing that back wherever your development is. So again, this is applicable for companies who does development in America. So to go back to the point I was making earlier on, a lot of customers realize that whenever they look into the hourly cost of the resource, the integration effort that is required, the training that they need to put, the benefits, all the transition effort whenever a person leaves, there's a very high value in dealing with a company that is specializing into a field such as automation, making sure that you have a sustainable ecosystem, and it makes it easy for your people to document whatever they need to document and take it from there. So this is just to demonstrate that even though the hourly cost of our resources are a little bit higher than offshore, when you look at the communication cost, you look at the traveling cost, but also the rework cost, which is the most the easiest business case we can build with, it builds a business case. So, and this is also if you consider the efficiency that we can get with tools like the one we show you today. So to wrap it up, we can help you speed, the delivery, the application delivery process that you're engaged with, exceed, expectation. We can help you speeding things up. And the key thing that I know a lot of people would be doubtful of this, but there's a lot of studies that has been made, and testing efforts are huge. It's massive on a project. We're talking about 40 to 60% of the labor costs. At a certain point, a company will spend that type of money somewhere. It doesn't mean it's all going to be in the testing service, but they're going to be spending a lot of money on testing. So if you guys are looking to trim down the costs or improve efficiency, automation is probably one of the, it's one of the best options you got right now. So that conclude the presentation.